Jeff.
Hey,
Josh, take it away.
welcome to the Black Tower podcast. It's time. It's time to take
Might
a
be the
trip
most
to
apt
your
intro as like a handle of Sailor Jerry's just flies around the screen.
dispensary of taint. And it's the Black Tower podcast. You know who we are. We are the Wheel of Time podcast from the Black Tower. We like to sit here and talk about Black Tower and other things in the Wheel of Time. So I am your Sword of on Mahale, Josh.
And I am your Bajan Mahal Andrew.
And I don't have anything to ASMR you with while I tell you that I am Daniel, your Soravan.
No,
Well, I'm not the Soravan.
Why are you taking my job?
I don't know what's happening. I'm so
Yeah,
sorry.
oh my God.
You had one job.
Tonight,
I've had a lot of jobs this week.
you know
enough.
that there are
Including an eye
things-
job.
Accurate.
Congratulations. Can you see clearly now the rain is gone?
I can, mostly because I got lasers inside my eyeballs.
Hey, you
Nice.
got laser eyes?
I do.
Man.
Yep.
It's impressive.
That's one of the side effects. They go ahead and make you see well, but you also have to wear these red quartz glasses for the rest of your life.
Yeah. It's an improvement on Dr. Evil's sharks with laser beams.
Yes.
Definitely.
Strapped to their freaking heads.
So
Yeah. A pool of Daniels with laser eyes is infinitely more terrifying. But you know what's not terrifying? Getting more of the stuff that you love or just tolerate from the Black Tower by going to blacktowerpod.com. Yes, as the name would suggest, that is our website. You can go there and you can watch the most recent
have a
episodes
website
on
now?
YouTube. Website?
we do.
Oh, yeah, you threw me off completely. I was like, what the hell is he talking about? So you can watch our 5 most recent YouTube videos as long as I remember to actually update the list. Listen to the podcast. You can find links to the merch stores. You can join Patreon if you want to. If you are one of the fantastic folks that got conned into coming and listening live right now, because this is one of our few public live recordings, thank you so much. And this is just a little bit of a taste of what our patrons get every week. I don't know if they're traumatized or if they really enjoy it, but either way, they're here. And they seem to enjoy it. And it's a fun conversation. So blacktowerpod.com. It's fantastic. And we're definitely not just saying that because we made it, but that might be 95% of the reason.
Also,
99%.
Speaking of getting conned, in 1 month and a handful of days, actually from the time that this happens, in 1 month and less than a handful of days, or in a handful of days less than a month. That's what I meant to say. We will all be in Georgia for
Nice.
Jordan Con, where we will all be hanging out with each other again, as well as our lovely guest for this evening, as well as a lot of other wonderful content creators who are going to be in Atlanta, Georgia this time next month for Jordan Con. Come have a great time. If you don't already have a ticket, maybe you can find somebody who can't go last minute, which would suck for them, but would be great for you. And if not, make sure that you sign up for next year because all of the tickets are sold out for this year. So yeah, at least watch stuff online because I'm sure that there's going to be some kind of we couldn't make it con, as well as, plenty of different things to watch by content creators as they are attending Jordan Con and are making content for all of you lovely people. So there you go.
But Josh, many people suffer from the same problem I do. I'm so excited to go to something. I get there and I just find myself so drained. No energy.
So tired.
What would you recommend?
I personally would direct you to my friends at Dubby Energy. Okay. So these guys are actually really cool. I've got the Dub Sludge, which is a green apple flavor. The flavor's really good. As long as you don't, eat too much. You don't get a lot of the jitters or a lot of the shakes or anything like that. It's actually really delicious and really cool. I love it. It's awesome. But if you go to their website and you want to put in an order and get some of your own energy, you just type in discount code BTP for 10% off. Our gift from us to you because we love you.
And for those of you that or like, I don't feel like typing, there's a link in the description below that you can use. It'll take you straight to it. But
I like how Josh was like, you just get a little of the shakes, just a little. Just a little.
So that comes from the first time I had it. I was like, 2 scoops should be great. Scoop. And I hadn't eaten that day. And it was.
You gotta put that disclaimer on. Like, one of their selling points is all the energy with no jitters. And you're like, I got jitters. Well, because you took 2 scoops.
Yeah.
I did. I did.
It's like trying the C4 pre-workout for the first time and being like, you know what? 2 scoops and 8 ounces of water is fantastic. It's like a milkshake at that point of just jitters. But speaking of jitters, somebody that never seems to have the jitters, somebody that has been in this Wheel of Time game for a very long time. You all know him, you all love him, and if you don't, you should. Thank you so much to our guest for joining.
Friend.
Yeah. Jason Dunzel's here?
Oh.
No, that's several weeks ago.
You missed that episode.
Just even more weeks in the future because time is like a circle.
Nice.
Yeah. But we are delighted to be joined by a good friend of ours. At least we will say we're good friends. Hopefully you echo it.
That's fine. You can say that.
Like, I understand. We're a lot to handle. Matt Hatch from the Dusty Well. How you doing, man?
Good. Thank you very much for having me.
Innkeeper.
Yeah, it's a blast to be here. Jitters, that's a really good question. I think if you go back and watch the first couple of my episodes, you're going to see some jitters. It just eventually I was able to handle 2 scoops of live shows, kind of thing. So, at first you got to start off with just 1 scoop. That's all I'm saying.
I think you hold the record for like the longest running episode of any Wheel of Time content creator with your 12-hour streams.
Like that's currently live. I feel like I want to say Made Into the Spirit did like some 18-hour. I don't know if it was like the Wheel of Time raising. It was like a charity benefit thing. So non-charity benefit Wheel of Time live stream. Yes, possibly.
Yeah. Solid.
It's weird when you choose to do something of that duration. And you just don't realize that you're going to hurt mostly afterwards. Because in the midst of it, because I think the first time we did it, I had like 30 different guests coming in and out. And by the end, I was still kind of like really energetic. So when we ended it, because Taylor, by the way, he was like, we're done, no more. Like it was like 11 and a half hours in, and I was like, we can still go. Let's go,
Well,
and
then, Grandpa, I'm tired of dicking. Well, that's too damn bad.
And then we got done, and I was like, oh man, I could have gone for another 6 hours, but yeah, I think I paid for that afterwards for a couple days.
And then you stood up, and suddenly you were like, I should have gone for 6 less hours.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, but on the off chance that somebody out there listening, watching, has not had the pleasure of watching the Dusty Will yet, where can you be found? What do they need to search? Ooh. And you know what? Here's an interesting one that you've probably gotten before, or maybe not. We're just going to throw it on the spot here because we are those kind of people.
Okay.
If you had to pick 1 or 2 episodes to give people a feel for the Dusty Will.
Ooh.
You can think on that for a while. We can come back to that question, but where do they find you?
Okay. So first of all, you'll find us on YouTube. It's really easy. Just go to YouTube and type in Dusty. Wait, let me see if that's true. Nope, you can't do that. You're going to have to type in Dusty Wheel. Sorry, folks. We don't own Dusty yet. But yeah, if you type in Dusty Wheel, you'll find us at The Dusty Wheel on YouTube. And yeah, that's where you can find us on Discord and social media. But if you want to come see our content, that's the best place to do it. We do live shows once a week, sometimes twice weekly. This last, 3 weeks, we have done, I think we've missed 2 Wednesdays at this point because I'm in the midst of life changes. Yeah, we'll be back this Wednesday. So if you want to see us live, we basically only do live shows. Every once in a while, we'll post some content that's not live. But yeah, basically, it's a live gig. And our best 2, if you've never heard of us, and if you have heard of us, but you've never seen these 2, you should go watch our episode all about Steve. And I think that's all let me see if, can you just type in Steve? What happens?
That was a good one.
You can't just type in Steve, everybody. You have to do Steve Wheel of Time, maybe. That's might be how you find it.
Like if you just type Steve, you're going to get the monkey from Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs.
I know, right? Who is Steve? No, that's not going to get us there either. There's too many Steves out there, folks. So who is Steve Wheel of Time? Is what you're going to have to do.
Who is Steve and why does he own so much of YouTube?
Who is Steve Wheel of Time? Just those simple 5.5 words into YouTube, and you can find it. That will show you the absurd side of our fandom, and then I'm going to give you another episode that will show you the absurd side of our fandom, which is I think our live stream coverage of the first trailer for the Wheel of Time drop. That was that 11.5 12-hour whatever 11-hour coverage we did, and that was insane. It was all the things that we do here at the Dusty Wheel, live call-in stuff. We had 30 guests there, different guests that we brought in and out. We did all sorts of different segments of that show. So if you want to see what we're about, go find the Wheel of Time trailer live stream on the Dusty Wheel.
Did you know? And it works for me in an incognito browser. If I go to Google and I type in Matt Hatch, you are the second and third option.
Wow.
In the autofill. You get Matt Hatch Wheel of Time, and then you get Matt Hatch Dusty Wheel. So
wait,
that's scary.
Who's the first option?
That's scary.
Matt Hatch, the soccer player.
Oh yeah, mine came up with
some
Matt Hatch and fintech. I mean, I'm not going to make you any money, so I'm not that guy. I'm definitely
one
the
simple
guy that
trick to make you buku bucks.
And I'm not the one that has a Wikipedia entry, so too bad. Yeah, that's the soccer player. But that's cool. I didn't realize I had a soccer player with my name. So good job.
Nice.
No.
The soccer player has an innkeeper with his name.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. I need to meet this guy. He's Australian professional footballer who plays as a midfielder for Central Coast Mariners. Are they any good?
See?
I need to find out.
Central Coast Mariners.
Well, you got to figure out when his soccer career started. Because if it started after, Theoryland, then he took your name.
It did start after Theoryland.
Matt Hatch, the footballer, was born in September of 2000.
Yeah,
so, sorry, what did you just say out of your human mouth?
Yeah. I believe
all of us just hurt.
Yeah. When was Theoryland born?
1998.
90.
Oh, my little brother was born in that year.
So Theoryland actually predates this entire guy's life.
Yeah.
Or this guy's entire life by 2 years.
That's how old we are. Yeah.
Now,
you merely adopted the Matt Hatch. I was born in it.
Molded by it. Theoried about it.
By show of hands and or comments in the live chat or in the comments section below, everybody comment, did you know that Innkeeper Hatch here was associated with Theoryland.com?
Oh.
Who knew? Be honest. Yeah, Matt.
I would hope you would know that.
I like that Matt raised his hand. That was nice.
What? You said everybody.
Yeah, it'd be hilarious.
I did.
So Matt just is like, with what now?
Take us back.
Yeah.
Take us back to young Matt Hatch.
Okay.
He's reading the Wheel of Time. He loves the Wheel of Time.
He does.
And he says, you know what? I'm going to get on GeoCities or whatever.
He did. Yeah, it was GeoCities.
Yeah, I'm gonna say I knew that because I researched or something. What? Just walk us through that. Like, how did that happen?
Okay.
Actually, you know what? Go further back a little bit. We want to know, like, born, raised.
Was it in West Philadelphia? Were you born and raised?
Jesus.
Upstate New York. That's where I was born.
In upstate New York. Born and raised. Reading Wheel of Time is how I spent most of my days.
Hey, I love it.
So Josh, first of all, is your camera blurry, man? You're blurry in your camera there. I want more focus on your camera. Okay.
I can't do anything with it.
So yeah, I guess let me take you back there. So I've told the story in various ways, but I started reading the Wheel of Time probably when I was 15 in 1990. And that's when it came out. But I think nice, Josh, that's perfect now. But I think I started reading it at the end of that year. I did not start reading it at the beginning. I think it was like the end of that year. I think The Great Hunt came out soon after that. Maybe it came out that same year, if I remember correctly. So yeah, I started reading the books. Huge fan of them, and got on the internet in 1990.
In 1990,
at the end of 1996, and started working a tech job in 97. I want to say 97, and found out that my boss was actually a huge fan of the Wheel of Time, and he hired me, I think, on the basis that I was a fan of the Wheel of Time. It was the first time that my geekery had ever like moved me
Paid
into
off.
actually like a real life kind of. I didn't know people existed that I would ever meet that would like the books. I never spoke to people that liked them, and that job is where I began. I think I started a full-time position the end of 97, I think. And around that time, first day, my boss was gone. And I asked my coworker, what am I supposed to do with the boss gone? And he said, why don't you learn how to write HTML? You can make a web page. And I was like, oh, that's a fun idea. And so I took that whole hello world, the stupid HTML for dummies kind of approach.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh man, I really want to make my own theory website, because I had been on the internet to see other theory forums, but no one had like a website dedicated to them. And so I built a website with really, really terrible graphics. It was bad. So it's so good it's bad, or it's so bad it's good, however you want to say that. And yeah, the rest is history. Fans showed up and wanted to talk about theories with me. And I tell people this all the time. It's true. And I look back at myself and I'm like, you wasted a ton of time. You should just talk to a developer. But people would submit a form under like a theory, and it would be their comment on someone else's comment. And I would take their text, I would put it in HTML, and I would save it onto the HTML file, and it would display their comment underneath it. And I did that for thousands of comments. I have no idea why I did it that way. It was 1998 and I didn't know what the heck I was doing. So I manually added people's comments that they submitted through forms to show what they said about theories. And then I'd respond to them. It was actually a really good way for me to be like, I'd see it immediately, have a response, and I'd post them both. It was
question for you, Matt. When you were getting on the internet at this time for Theoryland, did it sound a little like this?
Why does that sound like a war call from Lord of the Rings?
Yeah, I know.
Let's say
I was like, we were playing Warcraft often at work. Sometimes we would so not exactly like that, but yes, the beeping, yes,
that ear-piercing shrill.
Yeah. Oh. When I got my first tech job, it was no longer like that. That was my first experience with
DSL,
like a T1. No, I think we had like Ethernet at our I was working for iOmega, and we had an Ethernet line, and I was like, yeah, this is so much better.
That is awesome.
Wait, we can call people and be online at the same time?
Oh yeah.
I remember thinking we were fancy.
Yeah.
I remember thinking we were fancy when we had call waiting on the dial-up, where you could accept, or you could click no on the screen to say no to a call, but it would still go through anyway. Freaking back whenever Netscape would send out CDs with like 3-month free trials of an internet connection.
Netscape.
What's so funny about that is like I was
zero.
I got
sorry. This is actually just the nostalgia episode. We're not going to talk about anything anymore. We're just down this rabbit hole. No, sorry, Matt.
Okay, I have to tell this story, and then we can switch back to topic real time, whatever. Even then, like by the time I got a tech job, I was already trying to convince people how not to use the internet. You know what I mean? Like this, we're talking for the last 25 years of my life. It's been like, you opened what? Why are you using this program? Stop doing this. Like I have a hard time being in the room with people that are like new to the internet, or maybe just don't understand it. I struggle because I watch them, how they're using it. And I can't handle it. I have to like walk away and be like, I don't understand how you bought a product from that website. Like, I don't understand, but you did. You put in your credit card information and you clicked submit, and I'm just gonna go in the corner and cry a little bit. Like that happens to me. I just can't be there. That's what comes from 25 years. Of
my poor little IT soul right now.
Yep.
You haven't lived until you have a customer that has only ever had a laptop that looks at you and asks, and you tell them, "Hey, click this," and they're like, "Where's the mouse?" You've had a laptop for 5 years.
Oh my gosh! Light Blinded Fool just posted. That is what the
screen
website looked like.
Yeah, that's a screen capture.
By the way, that image of that world was an animated GIF. That's how cool that image was.
You, sir, are fancy AF.
Oh, I just stole it from somebody. I didn't actually do
that's
that
all.
one.
That's all everybody did back
in the day where you could do that and not lose your entire livelihood for it.
Right, exactly.
Now we're in the era where NFTs are on the rise.
Do you know how cool I thought I was with that background? I was like, this is the most amazing Wheel of Time background I've ever found. Because normally you'd find like just the one with lines with vertical lines, or you'd find something. I was like, it has rings, which is kind of like a weave of stuff. Yeah, this is awesome. Yeah, it was amazing.
I love that. That's amazing.
I feel like I'm making my old MySpace page.
Right? Yes. Who's in your top 8, Matt?
Let me show them how edgy I am by putting My Chemical Romance as my page song.
Oh yes.
Oh no.
All right. So we have Theoryland. We have the early beginnings of Matt, the Innkeeper Hatch. When did other people start getting involved with the website, like officially, not just like coming and enjoying it, but like actually being involved with the back end of it, kind of thing?
This is something I never did well, which is I never other webmasters did this so much better, which was they would like actually get a crew of people to help them. It was always something I just was like, people are showing up, this is cool, that's what I was there for, if that makes sense. Like I wasn't there to like make a thing that was automated that did it by itself and I never had to interact with it. I was like there because I was like, oh my gosh, other fans are talking to me. We're talking and we're having a conversation and I want to be involved in this. And so it took me like a couple of years before I said to my brother-in-law at the time, where I was like, dude, I do need you to automate some of these things because I don't have any time and my wife's gonna have a kid soon and like we're going on with life, but I do need some of these things. I just can't do this manually. And people would send me emails and be like, hey, when are you going to post that thing? I'd get like hundreds of emails. Like, So he eventually kind of automated that submission theory process, the replying processes and such. And then I also integrated forums into the site pretty early. And so the forums really became like the center of discussion. That's when Theorylanders really started having kind of like, they became Theorylanders, if that makes sense. Like they had names and histories and the forums is where it really became a place. Now talking about the theories was the point of it, but we'd be on the forums to keep the conversation going. And so that took place like a year after, like in 1999, 2000.
Would you say that's what kind of created the community, that kind of communal aspect of the forums?
Yeah, the forums did. I was literally doing an email blast with a group of like hundreds for a while where we would reply to people's theories and thoughts and you'd reply all. So you just reply all to like 300 people.
Nice.
It was impossible to follow threads, but that was like, it was almost like awesome that way because you're just like, you'd get your email and all of a sudden you'd like 30 replies. And you're just trying to track things and you'd find a reply you like. And then you just reply all to everybody. This is before there was like threading in email and everything. The madness ensued. It was amazing. But yeah, Theoryland became a thing. It wasn't until early 2000s when I found out that Theoryland was listed in the websites that Tor recommended in the Wheel of Time books. That's when it became real. And I was like starstruck a little bit, because you'll go to a bookstore and I was like, Theoryland.com is in here. That's insane, That's when I realized like, oh, wow, like I guess people know about this place. And then that's really cool. So
yeah, we're kind of a big deal. People know us.
So
exactly.
So when you started it out, well, you said 98. So there was only like what, 1 or 2 books at the time, right?
98? No, there were
like,
6 books.
Sorry,
7, I think. About
Yeah,
Yeah.
7. Sorry,
I knew that.
He
You
hopped
guys passed the test.
on the internet in 90 when there wasn't really very
When
many
there was
books,
no
but-
internet, right? Well, I lost my question now. Damn it.
Well,
98.
So
2 books.
something that
what
something
was
that's
your
interesting.
question?
while you're thinking of your question, I'll cover for you.
Appreciate that.
You've met a ton of people throughout this. I mean, you've met a ton of fans, a ton of fellow book enjoyers, but you've also met a ton of people that have been absolutely central and crucial to the Wheel of Time series, just as the book series, and continue to be instrumental in the TV series. Because in looking up stuff, because I went into a Google search rabbit hole trying to find the origin date for Theoryland, and I'm just apparently not that good with Google. You wrote an article back in October of 2010 for the Tor Forge blog.
I did. Yeah.
And
In the before times.
Yeah, in the before times. Before, the great happening.
Yeah.
And it does this really good job of illustrating just some of the people so intrinsic to the Wheel of Time that you've been able to speak with and interact with over years. It's not even just like, hey, this all happened in a year. Because
Right.
you go into like a very brief spill. It's well written, like good job for sure.
I have to go back now. I'm like curious. Like, was it well written?
I like it. But this is like 12 years old. And here, I'll throw the link in the live chat for anybody that wants to see what I'm talking about. And so that you can go back and look at it. But you talk about how you're not a good salesman. That you're not that great at giving Theoryland a flattering explanation and sales pitch. And you go into a little bit of well, let's just see how other people describe me. And
Nice.
Anybody that doesn't know you might think like, okay, it's going to be friends, family, maybe your wife or something like that. No, it's Brandon Sanderson. It is Alan. It is Maria. It is Robert Jordan. And it's like, it's like a who's who of Wheel of Time, minus, a couple of people that I'm sure were busy or included in other responses for sure. But this was in 2010.
I
so
forgot
this
about this one. This was this
Gosh,
is
Andrew, I've just done so many cool things. I didn't even remember what you were talking about. Jesus.
That absolutely legendary thing that I did
Ouch.
10 years ago.
What? No, totally deserved.
I just yeah, I know. I just ran right into that one.
But it's such a great title too. Theoryland, just some crazy in a pot.
Yeah. Yeah, I've always been bad, even when it comes to like the Dusty Wheel. Like, and my kids, this bothers my kids. This bothers people that moderate the Dusty Wheel. And I don't know what it is. Like, people will be like, "So what do you do?" And I'll be like, "I run like a live stream." I'll see like my child next to me, and they'll be like shaking with like anger. Like, that's what you're gonna say? It's like a live stream you do?
Well, especially if it's like Taylor, who knows intimately what it is and is like, I'm sorry, did you just make yourself sound like a Twitch person? Get the hell out of here, Dad.
Well, I mean, I don't know if it's the same. I don't know if it's the same for you, and I know it is for me. I can't speak for Josh or Daniel, but when we started the podcast,
does, and he's usually right.
Yeah, well, when this little podcast started, like I was expecting, like, we might trick 5 people into listening, and they might enjoy it, and that'll be what comes to this. It'll just be fun because I get to talk about the Wheel of Time. And now we have a little bit more than that. And for me, it still feels a lot like the same thing. There's more things to kind of look at. There's more things to kind of be cognizant of, but it's still very much the same thing. So me describing how the podcast was when it started versus describing how the podcast is now, I have to wrestle with that bit of, if I start like throwing out things like numbers or things we've done or stuff like that that are cool, that I'm just saying because they're cool, I have to fight with that kind of inner voice. It's like, why are you bragging?
Right.
Yes.
And I know you seem like a very, from when I've met you and everything, it seemed to be a very humble guy. And
well, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you respond to any of this? Yes, you're right.
So it gets hard to like tell people like, because if you just say like, oh, well, I just do a podcast.
A lot of people say I'm the most humble person
God.
that they've ever met.
The most humble.
Yeah, because it's like, as you're saying it, like you have so much pride in the things you're doing. And I know you have a lot of pride in Theoryland, a lot of pride in the Dusty Wheel. That
as well,
as you're saying it, you're like, I know this doesn't do justice to explaining what it is I'm talking about. It's just that weird thing between like feeling like you're bragging, but also explaining what's going on. Is that kind of how it is for you?
I think I look at it like this, like if I don't do, okay, let me back up a little bit. So like Theoryland, for example, I didn't put like ads on Theoryland for like 20 years, never did. Because like at the time I hated ads, right? You're like on the internet and all of a sudden you go to a website and 700 ads come up. And at the time I was like, I don't want anyone to think that this is anything but just like some dude in his basement, like making some content and having fun. And and I've always felt like the community spoke for itself and the product spoke for itself. And me saying anything was like, it's like you're there and you experience it and that's what it is. And it's not anything that I can tell you because I can't encapsulate what Theoryland is. I can just be like, yeah, it's for crazy people that want to talk about a book nonstop. And people are like, that's how you would explain Theoryland? And I'm like, I don't know. It's a place you theorize about a book and then like, really, it sucks. You suck at this. Like, think of something better to say. And I'd be like, I don't know. It's a community and there's people around the world that talk about the Wheel of Time. And they're like, that's better.
I love how like all of us have sat around for so much longer thinking of like the perfect way to describe the series that our shit is based on than the thing that we do that's actually based on that series that like we made. Like I have agonized over how to explain the Wheel of Time to people, but then somebody's like, so what's the Black Tower podcast? And I'm like, they're a podcast about a book series. And they're like, I'm just like, that's where to go.
Like, yeah, me and my two like funny idiot friends get together, have a couple of drinks, and talk about a book series.
Yeah, it's clear that that's true.
Yep.
Idiot friends.
Hey, wait a minute.
And that's,
I represent that remark. Thank you.
It's just anything like the Dusty Wheel. That's just been its own journey, and yeah, and in the end, I'm like, if you've seen the Dusty Wheel, you know, like, I should, if I ever have to like tell you how much of a fan I am, then
I failed.
then I'm probably like talking to a media person, right? Like,
right.
It's just like, you either know how passionate I am about this stuff or you don't. And I don't really care to I don't care to correct people's impressions of me about Wheel of Time fandom. Especially not now, if that makes sense. But even back then, it was just like, dude, I don't know what to tell you. Like I do this for hours a day because I love a book series and I don't want any accolades for it. I could care less about the accolades. It's just really fun and the fans I meet are awesome. And so the accolades, sure, I'm never going to tell you it's not cool to be a character in this.
Of course.
It is very cool. It's very awesome. And I'm not trying to diminish like the cool things that have come from my fandom. It's just they've never been the purpose of it.
Yes.
So they're never the thing I talk about the most, if that makes sense. The purpose of it's been like to geek out. So that stuff I love talking about. It's like, if someone asks me like, why do you do this? Oh man, then you can't make me shut up. You know, like,
right.
Like, why did you do the Theoryland? I'll be like, oh man, well, because I did this and I met this librarian and all, whatever. And I can go on and tell these stories. But if they're like, how do you feel about the thing you did? It's always like, good.
Because I like it.
But I do have to ask a question about the character Innkeeper Hatch.
Okay.
Is the cudgel real?
Do you have a cudgel?
Do you have a cudgel?
Okay. So,
do you have your exit buddy?
So this is funny because so my wife and I met when we were 8. And we were not married at that point. And she
oh, good. Thanks
I'm
for
glad
specifying.
I'm glad that you heard that as you said it and clarified, but also
it's funny because like the same thing happened when I was like, I married my son this Sunday or whatever. My son was like, you mean you officiated my wedding? Why did you not write you officiated my wedding? And I was like, people understand. Shut up.
We get it. We get it.
So yeah,
I mean, I've seen those categories on the internet. I might be a little bit weirder now.
So I met the individual who became my wife. Is that better?
There you
when
go.
we were 8, and we started. I had a crush on her from when I was like 10 till now. And we started dating when we were 17. So yeah, like we have a different kind of relationship that maybe people that dated that early and liked each other when they were kids have, which I'm always just like, yeah, I think when I was like 17, 18, I was like, stay away, dudes. So I'm pretty sure when I was like young, there probably was an actual cudgel around where I'd be like, oh, I know what that guy's thinking, and no, stay away, but no, I don't have an actual cudgel.
Dang it.
And one would imagine. So someone
We
want to
need
make
to
it
get
lucky.
you. All right,
I was
so
about to say, Black Tower Podcast needs to procure a cudgel and
hey
present
Matt,
it
earmuffs
in
right now. We're gonna plan how to get you a cudgel.
Fix that in post, Andrew.
See, what's really funny
I
about
love
this
the
is
idea of the story being that, like, you're doing beta reading and everything for the end of the series with Brandon Sanderson.
Yeah.
And like you're like, I've got some ideas, and he's like, I'll come and talk about it over dinner. And you're like, cool. And he walks in, y'all have dinner, it's all nice. You go to the bathroom and you hear he's just engaged in polite conversation with the wife, and you just peek around the corner with the cudgel. And he's like, I'm terrified but inspired.
What I think is funny, and my wife will not disagree with this, so I don't think I'm like outing her in this way at all, but she is the one that would beat the crap out of somebody. I'd be like, we should probably just be nicer to people, like, she's the one. If anybody, would, I'd be like, she's you gotta be careful around that girl.
I love it.
Yeah,
so
I'm
hearing
the lover, not the fighter.
Here.
So
there we go. I am hearing
it is
here, Matt, that basically everything you love most in life, you just made the decision that was going to be your future at somewhere in the neighborhood of like age 10, age 15, age set. Like I'm really liking your commitment to all of the things in your life that you were like
about it that way.
Very young and went that forever, no takesy backsies. I'm in.
Okay, I will say this though. When my wife and I started dating, she was the one that asked me to dance first. So I had the crush.
Nice.
But she came over that line first. Is all I'm
nice.
saying.
She laid the bridal wreath at your feet.
I'm just saying, like, it was like it was her idea. Maybe subliminally through my ideas. I don't know.
There you go. Some weaves of compulsion there.
I laid 9 years of foundation until she finally actually asked me.
So let me ask this then, because you've got Theoryland. It's a success. It's awesome. People are there. People are having fun with it. It's great. You're talking about theories. At what point in time did you come into contact with Brandon Sanderson?
So I think I met him at the first Jordan Con. Wait, was it the first one? I think he was at the first one. This is like, I have to go back and actually like figured out the history now because it's been so long. But I want to say that he showed up at the first Jordan Con, but I did not get invited to be on the team until the second book. So the beta reading team. I wasn't invited to be part of reading the Gathering Storm. And so I think it was through Jordan Con that we met. And then
never let Brandon Sanderson forget it.
Exactly. Well, soon after we met, I moved to Utah, which people then in the community were like, you moved to Utah because you wanted to be close to Brandon. And I was like, no.
And you were like, just because you're not right doesn't mean you're wrong.
Exactly.
I mean, there are worse reasons to move to Utah.
Exactly.
Josh can tell you all about him.
I can.
I was there. I mean, I was still a long ways away from Brandon, but I certainly was closer than most fans physically. So, I think it was through Jordan Con. It was through Theorylanders. He learned about Theoryland. Mm-hmm. He obviously was trying to dig in and learn about the world of the Wheel of Time. Mm-hmm. And it was hard by that point to go online and look for Wheel of Time discussion and not see Theoryland. You might not enter it because a lot of people did not want to enter it. Like a lot of people had Brandon's feelings, like that article you shared. Brandon's quote was, I love you, Theorylanders, even if I sometimes feel like I'm surrounded by a pack of wolves when talking to you. So yeah, like that is, I often did not make comments on my own website because I was like, I can't have that argument right now. So lurking Theoryland was like a thing. People always come and tell me, they're like, I went on your website. I was never going to comment on it, but I was there. So yeah, Brandon knew about Theoryland
for years.
He knew about, maybe the insanity that was Theoryland. And I remember the moment though, and I don't know if this convinced him. I'm surprised, honestly, that he invited me at this for this story. I'm really surprised that he ever invited me, because imagine this. They had like at Jordan, it was the first Jordan Con or the second Jordan Con, I can't remember. They had a dinner the night before on Thursdays for kind of like anyone that was like volunteering, and then also like the people that ran it. And I was invited to that dinner, and they had the table set up in like a U. I was running, like our flight got in late, like it does from Utah to Georgia. And I was like, oh man,
tell me about it.
I'm like pissed off because I'm like, I don't want to miss this dinner. This guy named Brandon's going to be there. He's doing the Wheel of Time thing, and I wanted to be there to kind of chat with him. And I remember walking in, all of the seats were taken. Brandon was like, if you looked right, so I'm looking down the U, right? So I'm looking at the back side of the U ahead of me. Brandon's like in the corner, the back right corner, as I'm looking at the room. So I took 2 chairs. There were no chairs in the inner circle. So I took 2 chairs for my wife and I, and walked right up the middle of the U and sat right in front of him with those 2 chairs.
Nice.
I sat down in front of him and I said, "Hi, my name is Matt Hatch. Who killed Asmodean?" And that was like, and I asked him, I think I asked him that question maybe 10 times.
Good.
Course of a meal that I purposely forced myself to sit in front of him at that moment. So yeah, I'm surprised that he invited me to be part of the beta read group, honestly. But yeah, it's a funny memory for me of just like asserting the moment there, I guess. And
love that. I love how, like, because
what is the saying? Fortune favors the bold.
That's right.
Brave.
Yes.
Bold, brave. Translation issue.
We're going to go with the bold.
I'm just kidding. It's just that crypto.com is trying to make it fortune favors the brave, and it pisses me off every time. Because I think it's like it's trademarked or something that fortune favors the bold. And so they like had to change it for all their commercials. And every time the commercial comes on while we're watching mixed martial arts, I'm always like, oh, it's bold. It's absolutely bold, and I hate you so much right now. Anyway, sorry, Matt, you were saying.
No, that's what's funny about that is, like, you brought up this thing where like I would assert myself, like this is going to be my future. But it's funny because I don't have like a plan. It was just the passion about who killed Asmodean overrode any rational thought of like, that's rude. Don't do this. And I just did it. Like, and for most things, I would never do that unless I really, really want the thing. And then I override like that's kind of rude. Don't do that impulse. And yeah, I would say in those moments, it's strangely tied to the Wheel of Time in many instances where I've just been the kind of zany theorizing, Wheel of Time geek. Yeah. Like people look, this is absolutely true. It's not that people think it's cool, even among fandom, to be this obsessed. It's not that they necessarily like engage with it, but they do recognize it. And sometimes it just happens to be the right place, right time for that kind of thing. Because like, there's plenty of people that are like, they called us hardcore fan freaks for a reason. And that is because we were hardcore fan freaks. And that's a moniker we came to own.
Well, let me just say, I know that what you're saying is accurate. I'm aware of that. But you are sitting currently in a room with 3 other people who are very much like, no, that is actually one of the things that we're enjoying. Like you being in this
Zoom room
is exactly why. Yes, in a Zoom room, exactly why.
I was like, why are you in the Dusty Wheel? Like, how did you? I didn't realize it was such
Inside
a diverse
the
like
Dusty
decoration.
Wheel. Yeah, no. But no, I love to hear stories like that because again, not to make it about us or anything, but I know that the 3 of us have also struggled very much with the idea of those voices in your head saying, don't do that thing, don't go as far as, oh, that's a rude question, or oh, they don't want to hear about this, or they're not as big of a fan as you, so tune it or tone it down a little and blah blah blah. And honestly, getting to sit here and talk to you about this is awesome. Anytime we meet other people who are as into this series, like all 3 of us just went to JordanCon for the first time last year, and the fact that there are a bunch of people who are the 3 of us and you is like amazing. So definitely we recognize what you're saying is accurate and that most of the population isn't that, but God, when you find those people, it's awesome.
Well, let me tell you, like one of those instances, I went to the first JordanCon. And I don't think I told anybody I was going. Like, it wasn't like there was like a huge community awareness program or something. It was just like, if you didn't email people, they didn't know things back then. Right. And I showed up, no one knew me. Like I knew other Theorylanders were going and I was gonna meet them for the first time. I was really excited for the second time because we had gone to Dragon Con like a couple years before that. And I was really excited to see them. I sat down in a room. And people would be like, hi, what's your name? I'd be like, Matt. They'd be like, cool. And then they'd be like, and then later they'd be like, why didn't you tell me you run Theoryland? And I was like, you didn't ask me what I do. Right? What my name was. And I remember sitting there and I saw like the program. And on the program was like a list for like a discussion about the Ailfin and Eilfin. And I was like, oh no. They're going to get stuff wrong. Like, I was like, no. So I was like, oh crap. And so luckily I had brought like a printout or something, or I don't know how I remember having a piece of paper and I was like, see these answers to these questions. I walked up to somebody that was heading the panel and I was like, can you just make sure that you use these questions and answers? Because we spent a long time trying to divine this stuff from Robert Jordan, and I hate it when fans get this stuff wrong. And I think it was like Tom DeSimone or somebody who's already also still in JordanCon. They were like, why don't you just sit on the panel with us? And I was like, I can? And they were like, yeah. And I was like, I don't know. I've never been on a panel before. This is weird. You know?
Oh, God.
And so, of course,
I got do that. Shoot him panel, or something.
The panel was like this. It was like, welcome back to the Dusty Wheel. No, you kind of be doing that. Like instantly I got to the panel and people would be like, I'd be like, no, that's incorrect. Robert Jordan said this, 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 and this. And actually the quote like this. And what I find fascinating is this and this and this. And I did that panel. I did another panel. By the end of the weekend, Jennifer Liang, she's like, Matt, people told us that they hope you come back next year. And we want you to be the MC of JordanCon 2 or like whatever, like next year. And I was like, cool, this was awesome. Like I was like, you have panels and you just talk about this crazy stuff for hours. And then you go into the hallways and you talk about it for hours. And people are here for that exact purpose. It's like a website live.
It's so good though.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just gonna plug JordanCon real quick because if you've never been to JordanCon, Again, I'm going to plug it again. If you've never been to
JordanCon's into it. It likes being plugged.
You've got to go. It is last year, people would show up without a ticket and sit in the lobby.
Yep. Just
to hang out and talk Wheel of Time. It is the most amazing experience. And Matt, this actually is one of the things that I kind of wanted to talk about tonight. So is that the origin story of how the Theoryland panel was born?
Yeah. Oh, the Looney Theories.
The Looney Theories. Yes.
So let's point that out. Right. It's called Looney Theories. Do we understand why it's called Looney Theories? It is because our fellow fans consider this stuff loony. I actually consider them theories, but but some of them consider them loony. And so what happened was whoever like was running it was like, I think it was the second or third year, because I emceed the second year, and that's when like Theoryland showed up in mass, and so like black t-shirt, like 30 to 40 people moving as a single unit of black t-shirts was really like kind of intimidating, because they would
not a cult.
They would like walk into the back of like
brigade.
They felt like that. They would walk into like the back of the like panel, and they would sit together, and then you'd hear this in the back. Oh yeah, Moraine, whatever, you know. They'd be commenting on something like, yeah, they still believe that one. Oh man, yeah, no, that was proved wrong like in 2005 and whatever, you know. They'd be like whispering back there, and somebody in the panel would be like, did you have something to say? And they'd be like, well, yeah, that's wrong, or something like that, you know. And I'd be like, and I would be, by that point I was like kind of like, oh, I was starting to see it from other people's vantage points, and I was like, that they're a lot, you know. And then I was like, that is
man,
so cool.
Somebody saying that the Aelfin and the Eelfin, like all of your theories are wrong, might not be the most likable thing.
Exactly. So we got Looney Theories panel, which I actually loved, and the concept of it really kind of formed in calling it Looney Theories, and that was where you know, obviously Sarah Nakamura and Chrissy Lucier, who you may know, were also like going to Jordan Con, and they crashed. They always made it like late, like 10 or 11 o'clock at night, and it became one of the most attended panels for being that late at night. And I do remember this moment where Brandon walked in. This is early Brandon, by the way. This does not happen anymore, but this is early Brandon. He walked into the panel and he goes, oh, they cross-scheduled me against you guys. Thanks a lot. And I was like, yeah, good luck. Yeah, Brandon's made up for that. Don't worry about that. He's good now.
They don't do that with popular panels anymore, because they know that almost everyone's going to Brandon's.
Everyone's staring into Brandon's panel like, really? I mean, I even had an experience like that with Brandon has his own mini con now, and they asked me to do a panel on the Wheel of Time there. And I was like, cool, this is awesome. And I was like, hey, it's cool. We got like it was a huge room. And I was like, a third of it's full. That's really great. And then I see Brandon walking down the hallway, and I was like, they cross-scheduled me against you? I was like, I can't believe you put me against the panel against Brandon.
You got fireflied.
I was actually going to say, I wouldn't be surprised if Brandon remembers that story, and he actually just had them cross schedule you at his own con.
Okay, so
just to be like, oh, how the turntables map you.
If you go find that, because I think there are recordings of it. So Brandon's doing his panel. So we're at the front. There's like four of us. I can't remember who all was on the panel with me, but we basically were like, we should make sure that like they clapped. They're like, Brandon, and everybody clapped really loud. We could hear it on the other side of like the dividers. So we're like, we need to be louder than this. So we introduced ourselves or whatever, and the panel, and our room like screamed extremely loud. And so then then you hear some like almost some whispering, and about like 30 seconds to a minute later, the other room like erupts really loud, and then I was like, oh, we can't let them win. And so we were like, we're gonna boo this time. So we booed extremely loud, and then they did something else, and we finally let it go. But yeah, I'm sure there's something left there with Brandon and I as far as panels are concerned and attendance. But yeah, it was a funny moment. That's where Looney Theories came from, and it really became this kind of late night, just ridiculously fun. I don't know if did you three attend the one we did this recent Jordan Con?
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Here's the deal.
Nope.
Hold on.
I'm out.
Hold on.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. The panel's attendance was capped at like 50 people.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. That was what I was about to say.
We tried
we kept the
hard.
couch warm. We kept the couch warm for you until you got done and came back out. All right.
Okay, that's fine.
And it wasn't very warm, but it was warm.
I will say this though. We did have, so what we would do is we'd be in the couches, right, in the lobby, and then we would have someone with a laptop set up and check the live stream.
Honestly, you had to do that, you know.
Yeah.
I did.
So we did attend.
We
weren't there in person.
The
Okay.
panel.
But we did, yeah.
I didn't hear the panel,
That makes me feel a little bit better.
but I saw the panel.
But the whole concept is this idea of getting fans together and coming up with a theory that's plausible, but not likely.
Yeah.
Which is,
as far outside of reality as you can be while still being in
you have to
reality.
It has to be acceptable to the panel. And so you have to give us threads to work with. And we do a good job of working with people's threads. They'll throw something out and we're like, give me more, give me more
pattern.
And somebody they did the Scooby-Doo gang was the Wheel of Time is the Scooby-Doo gang in our age or something like that, and
nice.
You start kind of painting that one I think won second place in the last one. But yeah,
that is correct.
Looney Theories became a thing, and it's this is the funny thing. It's one of my favorite things that came from
Perrin is
my
not
fandom.
a Disney princess. Hush your face.
Yes, he is.
No, he's not. All right, so we've gotten Theoryland. We've gotten everything. You've now been attending Jordan Con for a number of years at this point.
Yeah.
When did you sort of make the decision that you were actually going to join into the realm of the online with the Dusty Wheel and do things like that? And how did it come about that sort of it took off like this? How did Taylor get involved? Was it right from the beginning? Was it later on? How did just give us sort of the origin story of the Dusty Wheel as it is today?
Well, so I think I his typical fashion with me, I've told this story, but in tweets that only 10 people saw. So
that's why we want to hear it again in your words with your voice,
so that everyone 7 people can hear.
Hey, there's how many here? How many in chat here? Let me see. That 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 minus us, 15 other people.
Wow.
That are hearing it right now. Let's imagine how many people are going to watch it on YouTube. It's going to be like a whole 17
or 18.
So in 2018, I learned of that, whatever, Amazon or something, Sony had picked up the rights, something, right? That kind of makes its way through fandom. People on Facebook shared kind of those articles. I heard that Sarah Nakamura, a friend of mine, got involved and was hired to be part of that. And I was like, oh my gosh, good for her. I know that's something that she's worked for and wanted. So yeah, I was like, that's awesome. But honestly, in 2018, I was like, this is cool. Just don't screw it up, people. I can't wait, just get the metaphysics right was all I was saying in my head. And so it was not until 2019 Jordan Con, where I think actually Sarah was there at Jordan Con. And it was on one of those Thursday late nights where we all just sit around on the couch con, doing couch con in the lobby. And I remember her asking me the question, are you going to do any, you bring Theoryland back when the show comes out? And I was like, no, I don't know. Maybe, I was kind of wobbling. I was waffling, whatever. And she's like, why not? Why wouldn't you? And I was like, I don't know. I mean, yeah, I guess I could bring it back. Forums. I don't know. And she's like, you should. I was like, yeah. She's like, well, you've been doing this for so long, you're going to do it. And that's what was funny was Sarah knows me really well. And she goes, that you can't not talk about the Wheel of Time. And so she's like, so when this becomes a thing, you're going to be somewhere talking about it. So why don't you just pick where you're going to be? Just talk about it. Cause you're going to talk about it. You want it. That was basically the conversation. And yeah, that affected me. Taylor, my son, went to that one and we were both sitting there. And after that conversation with Sarah, I was like, yeah, that would be interesting. What would we do? And I use this as an opportunity to say to Taylor, okay, if we did something, I would want to do it with you. It'd be fun if you had something that you want to do. Daniel Green, I think, was there at that one. I hadn't ever met him before. I met him briefly. I saw these podcasts and these YouTube shows, and I was like, I met at the time White Tower Podcast, and I met Seth with Watt Spoilers. But they don't remember this, right? This is how honestly, this is how I would have gone up to them and hi, nice to meet you. I've seen your thing and it's awesome. So, and then I would walk away or something. Like I would, if it was really awkward interaction, they have zero recollection of ever meeting me. But I didn't realize podcasts were a huge thing. It was like a surprise to me because I'd kind of like gotten out of doing things in fandom for a while, other than the Jordan Con. And yeah. And then I was like, asked my son, and he loves film. And we saw the success that Nablus had of reaching, and Daniel had of reaching fans somehow over YouTube. And we're like, that's crazy. Like we looked at a video, we're like 30,000 people views or whatever. Like that's nuts. Like people are going to YouTube and typing in Wheel of Time. That just didn't like, I couldn't think about that. And on the way home, Taylor and I, devised, like, we're like, what would we want to do? Why wouldn't I want to do a website? We basically were like, we should do something like The Talking Dead. That's what we said. We're like, if we were going to make us like an after show where we as fans have a place to go to talk about this, how would we do it? And I was like, we have to be live because I hate being on camera. And so I could never edit something to be on camera, if that makes sense. It's stupid because I'd have to be live in order to allow it to be like, I can't stop something once it's gone live. So then I wouldn't take it down because I'd be dumb because it's already out there. So it would like have to be live. Talking Dead,
okay.
So we get
we'll
like
do
fans
it live
talk. Yeah, exactly. And then it was like, so a live call-in talk show on YouTube was like, how would we do that? And we started piecing together like the idea of like a bar and the inn and an innkeeper, and that all kind of just brainstormed out for like a couple months of. We went and bought a bar like from some lady that was selling some, like, she's like, I'm moving. It was like $50. It was this old, like, if you guys saw the bar, I actually gave it away. So it's the old bar doesn't exist any longer. So yeah, it was weird because we got the bar and the bar like made it. I don't know if that makes sense, but like we like put a bar in a corner of a room and we're like,
it makes it feel real, something
yeah,
physical, something. Yeah, I agree.
I love this story because earlier in the chat, Anas.a said that the Dusty Wheel is the Theoryland reborn. Sure. Definitely the same soul. And to me, that just that makes me feel so happy, especially to hear sort of that origin of the show, The Dusty Wheel, because the Dusty Wheel is something that a lot of us really enjoy and really love.
Yeah.
Theoryland.
I mean, who doesn't enjoy bellying up to the Dusty Wheel bar and getting a nice serving of a new theory from Man-Fear?
Exactly.
I mean, exactly. And so it's actually been super awesome to like hear that origin. I love that. That's my interjection there.
It was awesome to like do something with my son. He really does. As everyone's seen, wherever he's gone, I'm totally inept. Like he helps make the show a show, and it's really only fun doing it. Like the actual creation of the show is only fun to do with Taylor. You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
When I do it by myself, it's kind of like, well, that's not why I got into this. I got into this to have this show where he and I, like, part of our banter is hilarious. It's like we work together and we're not related. I'm like, can you get over here? Like. This is so funny that I'll be like, dude, are you ready? We're gonna go live in like a minute. And he's like, did you just ask me if I'm ready? We'll sit there for like a minute arguing about like, I can't believe you just asked me if I'm ready. What do you think, you're my dad? Stuff like that. So yeah,
I brought you into this world. I can take you out of it.
That's right.
I think the spirit that created Theoryland is definitely, it is the same. Yeah, it's the same spirit of the place. And which, it hits for some people and it doesn't, right? Like it's not for everybody. It's just, it is.
Some of us accept that Bella is the creator.
Exactly.
And some of us are like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah. I remember.
Honestly, I love that more people found this Theoryland than might have found the last one, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. I love that YouTube allowed us to spread that spirit, if you will, out there and find people that had that same kinship, because the reaction to the Dusty Wheel has been genuinely, I think, one of the most pleasureful experiences of my life, of just like, every time I see people show up to chat, it's just like, wow, you guys are like, it like genuinely brings me joy. Did I say something?
Yes, but also it was chat. It was Andrew being the best kind of dickle.
So
Nice.
it's fact checker Mihail being a fact checker Mihail.
I was like, Daniel starts laughing, and I was like, did I say
Andrew
it wrong?
being Andrew?
No, you said everything right. You're a wonderful human being. And
It's
we're really
even funnier for me,
here, but also
because-
Andrew is the most correct that anyone could be.
Yeah. I don't know. It's funny because I have a coworker that he doesn't adore File, but he does like File. He also likes and appreciates Gallman. So no accounting for taste there. But
Those people exist.
Yeah, I was gonna say his opinion is suspect from the get-go. So anything he says about Fail is easily dismissed.
He's a big fan of What Up, then I'm assuming.
Exactly.
Yes.
So
No, but
okay,
yeah,
so Matt.
Yeah, go for it.
So I have to ask.
Okay.
Notable theories. Okay. So from the early days, right? Are there any theories that were like eerily accurate? And I ask this from the perspective of, being in the Black Tower. We're always on the lookout for someone who seems to be learning too quickly or someone who seems to know too much. Okay. So were there any theories that were posted that you noted later on in the series that were like, that was on point?
So two things, Matt. Think about this for just a second, because I think this is going to go into an area that we need to go ahead and check, because especially if they're going to be late books, we definitely don't want to go ahead and say any theories that are going to be.
I feel like did I ruin any theories?
No.
You're
doing great. We just want to go ahead and stop up. From this point forward, if you have not finished the series, Matt very well may spoil something for you, because it was an early theory that ended up happening, or at least very close, in the later book. So we're not going to do like a full official like spoiler warning that we normally do, but from this point on, please recognize that there is a chance that Matt is going to spoil something out of actually answering this question, because I think this is a great question. I love it. I want him to answer it, but also don't screw yourself by continuing to listen. If you haven't finished the books, please exit now.
If
so that you don't get spoiled.
It's a great question. There's no better question. Just don't ruin the trade deals in the worst history of spoiler trade deals.
So so now that we have that out of the way, yes. Are there any nobles who notably noted something in Theoryland that ended up going ahead and being weirdly accurate?
So this is always a difficult one, because because you're talking about conversations we had like 23 years ago. So
of course,
and I mean,
people had every idea, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Like, in other words, they would speculate about everything. It's once you throw 300 darts at a dartboard, you're probably gonna be like bullseye, and you're like, well, yeah, you're gonna get a bullseye here and there.
First time,
exactly.
First try.
So obviously the Taim, I can't believe I just said the Taim, because that's the proper way, but I used to always call him Tame.
He was Tame.
You and me both. Tame.
The Tame theory.
I read the glossary. It was in the back of the book. As soon as a new character showed up, they had their name and how to pronunciation.
I don't understand.
Stop your shade. Let Matt talk.
I don't understand anyone who read the glossary. Like, and I don't know why. I don't know why I didn't read it, but I know I got to a certain point in my fandom where people would be like, "Didn't you read the glossary?" And I realized, no, I didn't, and I never looked for pronunciation. That's for sure. So what's funny though,
which is fair.
I hear myself asking. I have a recording of Dragon Con 2005 when Theoryland went out there in mass to that Dragon Con where Robert Jordan was. And there's a recording of, I can hear my voice saying, I think I said Kyrian. And he said, yes, Kyrian. Fast forward to 15 years later, I'm doing a live call-in talk show and I called it Karheen. And everyone made fun of me And so it's funny because like even pronunciations you think you might have known over the course of your fandom at one point, sometimes they just revert back to whatever you came up with when you're reading the books. But Tame had like so many theories. There's so many variations of whether or not he was Demon Dread, whether or not he wasn't, but he was. So the whole concept of him becoming a new
Dreadlord
or chosen, that was some of early theories in like 2000.
Innkeeper, not discriminating.
Yeah, well, 2000, like 2000. I want to say, yeah, in 2000, people were already theorizing that was, if he wasn't, he was definitely like a new, chosen, if you will, versus just a Dreadlord. And so, yeah, you had those theories that people had kind of been like, well, this is an obvious place because this person's clearly not this. So
dude, I'm still mad that Jordan didn't do that. That was he set that up so perfectly and then was like, no, fuck you. I'm not doing that.
No, that's
he showed you can like retcon your ideas.
Oh, he did. And again, I respect the man completely. Don't ever hear that I don't respect that man more than like anybody else in the entire world, maybe except my mother. But like, oh my God, it was such a perfect setup. And then he was like, nah, I don't think I will. And you're like, why?
Yes.
He old man Rogers did.
He did. But that's and what's funny about that one is that's kind of how he wrote his books, especially early on. And that's what I love when you look into that.
No, you're totally right.
You're so glad when he did retcon, or before he actually wrote them, changed a pathway of where he was going. So maybe we're glad that he did, because I don't know. Maybe he would have. Maybe the execution of that was, if this makes sense, it was so heavy-handed.
Fair.
Like every fan in the world on the internet at the time was like, "That's totally Demanded," or whatever. And we're like, and Robert Jordan's like, "It's not. What are you talking about?" And then like, so I guess in the end, I'm glad he didn't. But I wouldn't mind if the show did it. So I think that the Tame theories, or
thank you. I'm so in.
Those were some of the. So those were some of the ones where people just iterated over every possibility that you could have. Mm-hmm. Nothing standing out to me like, you can always go to the Varen stuff. You can always talk about it. It's not that wasn't a possibility. I talked about it. Other fans had talked about it. That is the one I'm most proud of, because I almost was right. I want to say almost. I mean, 99%.
Throw it out
right.
there, like in detail. Throw it out there.
So yeah,
I always
feel weird about this, because like we're gonna spoil like what my favorite part of the book. So hopefully people have left if they have not read the book.
Yeah, we got the spoiler warning out.
Okay.
So
okay.
You're good.
So yeah, no,
you are protected.
I was proselytizing, and it was proselytizing. I was proselytizing the concept of Varen working with the Forsaken and the Dark One, but being an agent of the light. I was proselytizing that since like 1999. And everyone laughed at my ideas about it. And then when I went to DragonCon and asked the question if Varen had ever, I asked a really poorly worded question about Varen having any contact with Lanfear. That's a terrible question, by the way. And
but you're
Robert
obsessed
Jordan
with
said,
Lanfear, so we get
Robert
it.
Jordan said no contact, and you audibly hear my Theoryland friends start laughing. The recording that we have, because they were like, "Yes, we don't have to listen to him ever bring up this theory ever again." So when I read that portion of the books, it was like 3:00 in the morning, and I was pumping my arm in the air to nobody. It was like, it's just like I could not wait until everyone read it, and then I could, but
yes,
but I say 99%. I was unwilling to say the words Black Asha, and I went back and looked at
like
all
you
of the
and
things.
every other Aes Sedai.
It ticked me off, because I was so funny. It was one of those things where you're like, this person is working for the Dark One and channels and is an Aes Sedai, but not Black Asha. I don't know what I was thinking. Like in my head, it was like, no, not. I won't call her Black Asha because she was a double agent. She's working for the light, so you can't really call her Black Asha. So that's the one piece I was unwilling to say, but everything else and all of the other clues that Robert Jordan had dropped in The Great Hunt and The Dragon Reborn, like, yeah, I talked about that thing ad nauseum. So that was one I was most excited about to come true, if you will.
Nice.
That's fair.
I love that. Well, and we even discussed that a little bit when we were talking about Baron and how, you know, there was some sort of questioning as to, you know, early on in the story, you know, Moraine talks about don't trust that woman because she's kind of weird, and
I will never trust that woman.
Oh, there went his internet.
Yeah.
There he goes, perfectly frozen.
Are we dead? Am I back?
We aren't.
Oh, poor Josh.
Josh died
Josh.
in the middle of his question too, or in the middle of his statement.
I like how he did. Can someone take a screenshot? I got it, everybody.
Do it.
There you go.
There we go.
BTP behind the scenes.
There we go. He's back.
Oh shit!
Us.
you were gone for like the last 20 seconds.
Damn it! I had some awesome. I said the most prolific things that have ever been said in Wheel of Time history, and you guys just miss them now.
And the pattern said, "Yeah, but how about nope?"
So now what I give you is a tribute to what I just said. I love that you're championing the cause of Varen as a double agent. Like we talked about Varen early on, and one of the things we noted is that Moraine is such an amazing spy master kind of a person, and she looks at Rand and she's like, "Yeah, don't trust her. I don't know who she." And so you know, if Moraine knew that much about Varen, and the only thing she could say was "don't trust her," it's logical that you could say that Varen, you don't know if she's a good guy or a bad guy, because if she was one for sure, one or the other, Moraine could have sussed it out. Like,
yeah,
she's Moraine. Like,
though I will also say, you know, who
Moraine misses
regularly
things.
says don't trust Moraine? Everyone tells Rand to not trust Moraine, including the bad guys. The bad guys are like, don't trust Moraine. Are you kidding?
She's Aes Sedai. Come on.
Is that true? I want to get some quotes on the don't trust Moraine quotes.
Well, you can if there was ever asked in an interview, you can definitely find it on Theoryland.
Yeah, I was gonna say Tam and Abel and Nynaeve and like a handful of other Two Rivers folk are like, don't you trust that woman, Moraine Sedai.
Well,
okay.
I mean, it's fair. Like, imagine a random stranger shows up, you figure out she's Aes Sedai, and she's handing out silver coins to young children to ask them, like, hey, come with me. Like, that's not the origin story for the best person in the world, stereotypically.
It's not.
I mean, but it is though.
So I want to throw this out there because it's something fun that Taylor and I did for Winter Dragon, and it relates to Moraine here. Taylor and I did if you've ever seen Winter Dragon, we did a Dusty Wheel cut of it. But the important thing of the Dusty Wheel cut of Winter Dragon was that a lot of people were like, are you going to just like make it like a cut of like dolls? You like just seeing dolls on the floor.
Just like claymation.
Are you just gonna have it be like she's just gonna scream Ilyena for like
no, because
minutes,
Billy Zane has to be there.
No, but what we wanted to do was take the material and see if we could reimagine it in a way that still respected the people that were part of it. Like we weren't trying to make fun of Billy Zane. We weren't trying to make fun of any of them.
Absolutely not.
And we were trying.
I like
to
how
say,
we don't know any of the other actors' names. We're like Billy Zane, and then also the other people.
You should listen to your buddy Billy. He's cool.
Well, no, I think when you actually look back at it, it was funny how many people said, "I hate that you made me like it." You know, like I hate that you're making me change my mind about this thing. And I was like, yeah, like we did our job then. If that's because by the way, Max Ryan, I love Max Ryan as Luz Theron. I actually think he does a fantastic job. He's the other main actor in that one. And but yeah, people coming out of that, having Max even write us and say it was really good.
Aww.
Like that was, in other words, he wasn't like offended by the idea that we would like cut it up and show it in a different format. And I really appreciated that. And like to have fans come out and, you know, I got some notes from people that were like, hey, you know, thank you. You know, that was really good. And we didn't know what you were going to do with it, but we're glad you didn't like make it, make fun of it, if you will.
Yes.
And so, yeah, we started doing a similar kind of process with episode 1 of of season 1, where we wanted to take like the material that they've come up with and reorganize it in a way for us, like where we think this material you had, if you organize it this way, it would make sense to Taylor and I, like we like it presented in this format. And so one of the things we did was we removed the Moraine intro and then the Moraine clip from the cold open. We changed the cold open in the intro. So when is the first time that you meet Moraine if you take those 2 pieces out? In episode 1, do you remember what the first time you meet this Aes Sedai?
When she walks into the inn.
When she walks into the inn is the first time you meet her. And what's awesome about this, because I've watched this, I've watched our cut now like 3 or 4 times. I love it that much. And me saying I love episode 1 is like, that was one of the ones I liked least of all of them. But you end up being one of the villagers. And it's such a cool experience to see her as an outsider. And you get the chills when she walks in the room and you feel what they're feeling. It's so fascinating because I know what to expect, but every time it happens, Lan comes in and he's like, this is Moraine, and she comes in and takes off that cloak. And it's the first time you've been introduced to this person. And you're like, damn, she's powerful. And who is this woman? She walks across and you're like, man, what is she going to do? And you know what she's going to do.
Slaps Nynaeve, and then
when she goes upstairs and you're like maybe she's here for the war in the South. And what we did was we made the cold open. We used the Alvaro Morte cold open from episode 4. So when they say maybe she's going to the war in the South, you're already like, yeah, to the male channeler dude who's calling himself the Dragon Reborn. You're like, maybe she's here for the Dragon Reborn in the South, and maybe she's making a stop here. And some of the cuts we made were to actually show her as a mysterious character instead of a known character. And as a book reader, I think not because it's closer to the book, it brings that sense of mystery around who is Moraine, what are her motives that work so well actually in the show. And the reason why they work so well is she reveals herself in the show already. You learn more about her in episode 2 as she gets sick in episode 3. You basically have an entire episode that is the Moraine episode in episode 6. So she has an arc in it that we felt like with the intro and the cold open, actually you already feel like, oh, so this is just this person's journey. And she doesn't feel like she has this arc so much as that she's just there. And then her role gets diminished over time. And then she comes back. And so it's been a fascinating kind of way to look at episode 1. Again, not diminishing their choices that they made creatively, but actually taking all the materials that they gave us and trying to create an arc for Moraine that is more mysterious has been a lot of fun.
What I hear you saying is for season 2 and season 3, which I think they're mostly finished with season 2. So for season 3, you're basically making it so that you are going to be a very valuable piece, just like Sarah. And they're going to have Matt Hatch and Sarah Nakamura in the room. Just
they will not ever invite me to be in that room. No, well, and
I don't know. Honestly, don't sell yourself so short.
No, but it's not that I don't know. Like I've been, I was on the beta read team, right? Like you, and Sarah knows this too. You give up certain aspects of engagement with fandom when you're in that room. And so I couldn't do the Dusty Wheel and be in that room. Does that make sense?
True. No, that's very fair.
So, and that's the reason why I would never be in that room is because I don't want to give up the Dusty Wheel.
No, and that's very respectable.
Which is a good segue as we're winding down on time here. It's never long enough.
Right.
You've gotten to do
That's what she said.
Yeah. Well, obviously through Theoryland, you got to do some amazing stuff. And the Dusty Wheel has brought around another round of amazing things that you've been able to be a part of. You've been able to do cast interviews. You've been able, you were the premiere for the trailer. You got to go to the red carpet premiere for the actual show. Yeah, the carpet. And then a little bit of a shared experience. You got to interview Kate Fleetwood as well.
I did.
And Yeah, it's I can't hate Leandrin now.
It's
Yeah,
so
right?
hard.
It's impossible.
Ugh.
Of all the things that the Dusty Wheel has opened up as experiences for you,
Okay.
if you had to pick one, like I have to pick one, no option to do anything else. What was the most impactful for you? Like what spoke out the most for you and you feel like has the most impact on you? Like something you can think back on and be like, hey, this really motivates me to keep doing this going forward.
So yeah, that's a great question. I think it has to be there was this moment, is probably the most emotional I've ever been with the Dusty Wheel, was the first trailer Gaidon. It was, we had always talked about, being like an after show, and we told everybody like, when this trailer drops, we're doing a 12-hour show. We're just going to go crazy. Like, this is what we've been priming. This is what we've been prepping for this entire time. And I think it was Celtic Mist, Sarah, if those of you don't know who Celtic Mist is on Twitter. I want to say it was her that said, the innkeeper rides for trailer Gaidon. Will he ride? Will he ride alone? And
yes,
and the response on Twitter was just so overwhelming with, he will not ride alone. He will not ride alone. And yeah, I think I shed a tear in that moment, like sitting on my couch, because it was like, wow, people really feel some ownership of the Dusty Wheel and feel like they're a part of it. Like, this was never meant to be a cult of personality. It was meant to be a cult of passion and a cult of love for the material and for the Wheel of Time, if that makes sense, right? Like, and the fact that everyone, I think it was that moment, like, to me, will always be one of the most memorable, like the buildup of 2 years and the response that fans had in that moment, and then showing up to that date, it was our most watched. I think for the trailer, and then afterwards we'd had like over 2,000 people live with us. And then I think we had an average, at least for the first 6 hours before we switched streams, at an average like 1,500 people concurrently with us the entire 6 hours.
Oh, I remember. I tuned in several times.
I mean,
I want to be like you when I grow up.
I heard from people from like Amazon that they're like, oh, we had it on the whole day, like they weren't a part of it. It was just fans talking about it. But the fact that fans showed up and that it worked. I don't know if that makes sense. Like, like people showed up and people had fun and they stuck around. It is hard to keep a concurrent audience for 6 to 12 hours, and the fact that the people and the fans loved it that much and just stayed around to hear us just ad nauseum talk about the trailer with all of our other content creators, like, and to have so many content creators like coming in and out. I had people coming in every 30 minutes. It was insane. It's like, okay. And then and it was like, it was ridiculous. And we got to the end and it was like, I think that was the most impactful fan moment. There's some cool stuff that happened, right? Hosting the official after show will be the coolest thing I did from a like engagement with Amazon side. Like, the premiere was cool. Those things were cool, but to like actually have them come and say, do you want to host an official after show with us? That was like something Taylor and I talked about with The Talking Dead. And we were like, seems weird. We're just two dudes in a basement. Like, and Amazon asked us, right? It wasn't something we proposed to them. Right. They asked us, and it was
sounds like a behind the scenes podcast, two dudes in a basement.
So to me, it would be those two moments. Obviously when they released the second trailer through the Dusty Wheel, like we were the ones to premiere it,
which
that was ridiculous.
Absolutely amazing.
Like, that was ridiculous. Again, like that they would give us the asset to reveal to the world before they handed it out to everybody else was just, the trust that they had and the trust that fans have had in me and my family when it comes to, believing that what we're doing is genuine. It is, but the fact that anyone on these days on the internet believes something's genuine or passion is genuine, that's a hard thing to accept. And so the fact that they did and the fans did will always be extremely meaningful to me and, like I said, to my entire family.
Well, Matt, you do incredible work. You've been one of our earliest friends for sure. It's always been an honor when you're like, hey, can one of you come on? Or, the rare chance that all three of us are actually available and get to come on, things like that. It's always a joy working with you. It was an incredible joy meeting you in person at JordanCon. Again, for anybody that doesn't know where to find you, go ahead and tell everybody where to find you, kind of what they can expect as we kind of wrap this up.
If listening to this is not your shtick, and you don't want to go on YouTube and watch us live, remember, if you ever have a question about the Wheel of Time, you can always go to theoryland.com and click on that interview Wheel of Time interview database. It is the most comprehensive database you will find, and you will find amazing answers that Robert Jordan gave to questions. It's one of the things I'm most proud of the Theoryland crew came up with. I did not do that alone, and I did only a very small percentage of that. That was all fans getting involved and collecting all that information for other fans. Like they're not getting any reward for it. It was a thankless job in many cases, but it has been an invaluable resource to fandom to be able to go back and read Robert Jordan's words for all the fans, from all the fans out there that captured those and shared their interviews online that we were able to put into the database. That's just a joint fandom thing that came about. So even if you don't like the Dusty Wheel, you think I'm a blowhard or whatever it is, and you don't want to listen to me talk about this crap, you don't have to. You don't have to ever listen to me talk about the Wheel of Time, but you can always find something valuable that Theoryland came up with. And
also stop being a dark friend.
Yeah. That too, I guess. Yeah. Don't be dark friend.
It's true.
Well, Matt,
in a world of Leandrins, be a Karene.
There you go. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day. Thank you to your family for relinquishing control of you for a little bit. Or control sounds bad. Relinquishing some time with you. English is definitely my strong suit. But thank you so much for taking time to do this.
My first language.
And come and chat with us. I know I speak for all of us and tons of fans, not just of ours, but definitely of yours. When I say I can't wait to see you again in April. It's going to be a ton of fun. We hope to see all of you there in April. If you want to check out Dusty Wheel stuff, which shouldn't be a want, you need to definitely do it. Links to everything Dusty Wheel will be down in the show notes or description below. One easy click and you can go and entertain yourself with content from somebody that actually plans things out and actually has good production quality.
Ew. Does that?
But
that's way too tainty for us.
Yeah. But from those of us here at the Black Tower Podcast, thank you. We love you. I have been your by Jean Mahel Andrew.
And Matt, for me personally, getting a chance to be on the Dusty Wheel and to get to know you has been an absolute pleasure for me. Thank you so much for being a friend of the show. And to everybody out there who's listening, hope you have come away from this episode just a little bit more mad than you were when you first came. Hope you have enjoyed your weekly dose of taint. And, go to blacktowerpod.com, go check out the Dusty Wheel, all the good things, all the things you need to do in order to be happy. It's a fact. I don't make the rules. And I have been your sort of on the hill, Josh.
And I have been your Amin Khan Mahale Daniel. And again, thank you so much for joining us both. Matt, thank you very, very much for coming on. To all of those who are here publicly listening to our available for public listening episode, we've really enjoyed you all being here, as well as all of the Patreons who go ahead and get to do this every week. If you are not listening live and you're catching this on YouTube or Podbean or wherever, we're also very glad that you were here. Go ahead and leave a comment or a like or whatever, and we will see you again next week with more content. But from all of us here at the Black Tower Podcast, we hope that you are having a wonderful morning, that you are recovering very well from your St. Patrick's Day, and in case we don't see you again, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Thank you, gentlemen. And everybody.
You've been having so much trouble, just fitting